Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. It's Monday, December the 5th, and like every Monday, I'm joined by Mr. Doug Upstone, one of the best handicappers you'll find anywhere in the country. And Doug is from DocSports.com, a company that's been around for 51 years. And if you know anything about this business, longevity speaks volumes, because between me and Doug, we've been doing it for over 2 decades. And we've seen a lot of people come and go. We're still here. Doug, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Ross, and yes, we have that, and we got a new topic to discuss this week. Or today, I should say, with some college basketball. So changing it up a little bit because other than Army Navy, that's all we got for college football. We got all the bowl things are out, and hey, coming off a nice weekend, just all around. I could talk about that later, but yeah, so pretty. I'm in a good mood today about that stuff. I guess I'm generally speaking in a good mood, except for I did have an overtime loss that did take a little bit off my edge.
Open up that black book and record it, Dougie.
Oh, yes. I didn't need to put it in bold letters this time though. I just went single space, all that stuff.
It's the pain eases a little bit if you had a good weekend. If that was just one of your losses on a winning weekend, it doesn't seem to hurt as bad. I think we get inflicted with more pain if we're on the cusp of a winning week or a winning day and we end up losing for the week or losing for that day because of an overtime loss. Then it takes on. It's never easy to lose. So let's move on from that stupid thought. Anyway, we're going to be, you're like Doug just alluded to, we're going to be covering college basketball today, and there's 2 really good games at Madison Square Garden tomorrow night. Like the old days, right, Doug? A doubleheader at Madison Square Garden. And we don't want to show our age. We were discussing the NBA doubleheaders that used to play at Madison Square Garden back in the day. But in any event, 2 really good matchups with Duke and Iowa and Texas, the number 2 team in the country. They're going to be taking on a very talented Illinois team that I like very much, even though they've stumbled a couple times this year. I think over the long haul, they're going to do well, but they're all 4 of these teams are ranked. And Doug, we've seen some surprises. Before we get to the picks, we've seen some surprises in college basketball thus far. You mentioned off air, North Carolina, they've now lost 4 games in a row. Gonzaga looks beatable. Duke hasn't exactly overwhelmed their opponents thus far with a 6-2 record. Any thoughts on what we've seen so far in the world of college basketball as it applies to betting?
Yeah, North Carolina is a puzzle, and I've seen 2 of those losses, and there's just, I don't know, there's just like a lack of effort, more than it is anything else. And there's no emotion in terms of what they're doing. They're actually, what they remind me of, this was the thought I actually had recently, was they remind me of an AAU team. Okay. Now, if you've ever worked in those circles, which I used to, and all that other stuff, and coached, is that, where kids just are like an automatic pilot. They're just playing, until they get, to face, really talented teams or whatever. And that's what they seem like they're on. And so I don't know if they just think that they're better than what they are. It's hard to say. But, and let's face it, though, even last year, Hubert Davis got a lot of accolades for getting them to the championship game. But they really weren't anything special most of the season until they got into late February.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Something's amiss from that standpoint. And, and mentioned Gonzaga, after the first game, saw was it Michigan State game? Yeah, I think the one on the aircraft carrier in San Diego. It was very obvious right from there they don't have good guards, and so any aspirations of them being a top 5 team seemed unlikely. Top 20 probably, but top 20 or top 5, I don't see it, Ross.
Yeah, we're recording on Monday, December the 5th, and Gonzaga will be entertaining Kent State later tonight. And I think Kent State's a team that can give them a hard time, even though they're a 15-point underdog. I did not use the game, folks, so don't get carried away. But my point being is going back to what Doug just said, not to be redundant, and also the fact this is a Kent State team that went to Houston last week as a 16 or 17 point sizable underdog. Let's put 19-point underdog. And they lose 49-44. Right there, had the lead late in the game. So, yeah, Gonzaga will be tested again tonight. And I don't know, Doug, North Carolina, and I'd be interested to hear your feedback on this. North Carolina, to me, is suffering from a team that overachieved in the NCAA tournament last year. They're also on a hangover from reaching the NCAA tournament final last year. And also, if I'm not mistaken, they only have one returning starter in Leaky Black. So numerous things right there, and a lot of hype and expectations going into this season as a result of last year's successful run.
Yeah, it's just they still have some, I mean, the talent isn't the issue. Like I said, I just think it's just for whatever reason right now they seem unmotivated to play. There's just, like I said, there's no spark in their effort in terms of how they're playing, what they're playing for, and I don't know what's going to light that. I don't know if somebody else is going to have to come off the bench to excite this team, get maybe a little bit better guard play, just in general. But yeah, it's just a team that's just really lacking in continuity. Conversely, now I'll tell you a team I do like, not in your neck of the woods specifically, but Connecticut.
Yeah.
I've seen them play a couple times, and I really like the variety and mixture of what they have to offer. They got a nice big man, not a super athlete or anything like that, but gets the ball, blocks shots, can score in the paint. They have enough on the perimeter. 3-point shooting has to improve, but I like that team, Ross. I don't. Have you seen them?
Yeah, I have, and they're impressive. I mean, nobody's really came within single digits of them yet, if I'm not mistaken. In any event, they're undefeated, and they have a crazy head coach who wears his emotions on his sleeve. It must work, because since he's got there, he's really turned around the UConn program. So, yeah, that's a team to keep an eye on for sure. I'm a little surprised with Texas being number 2, but then after I watched them last week, I could see why. Plus, they're playing in a brand new arena that also is giving them some inspiration, especially at home. And Duke, like I said, I'm not impressed with. North Carolina, I think I'm going to stick to my guns here and say they were hyped very much before the season started. A lot was expected. They're suffering from that, in my opinion, a mental hangover from last year's run. And like you alluded to, Doug, it wasn't like they were great last year. They made the NCAA tournament. What were they? A number 8 seed, if I'm not mistaken?
I could look it up, but yeah, I completely.
They weren't a top 4 seed. I'll go out on a limb and say that if I recall. In any event, it was a surprise for them to get to the finals. So
no question. Yeah, they got hot. It's as simple as that. So yeah, so that's just another one. And yeah, with Duke, I mean, hey, you know what? It's any of these coaches replacing legends. Good luck.
Yeah,
it's not easy.
One of the teams I really like, and I mentioned before, is Illinois, and you're going to be covering that game with Illinois, Texas for tomorrow night on this video. But I just think they have a nice mixture of good young talent, a couple transfers that they brought in, a really good head coach. And I think this is a team that will get better as the season progresses. North Carolina, another point to make with them, Doug, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts there. I don't think the ACC is going to be very good this year. And I think they could right the ship when it comes to conference play. Right now, they probably a victim of playing an extremely tough non-conference schedule, even though, having said that, they vastly underachieved. Nobody expected them to lose 4 games in the early going of the season, let alone 4 in a row, Doug, after starting 5-0. So any event, Doug, just want to remind the viewers out there, for both of us, that if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please take a second to do so. It costs you absolutely nothing, folks. All the great handicappers on this channel. You got myself and Doug Upstone from DocSports.com. You got Al McMorty from BigAl.com. You have Sean Higgs, who's absolutely been a terror in college basketball and the NFL this year. And also, who am I missing? Jesse Shule. Yeah. Last but not least, Jesse Shule from sportsmemo.com. So a great cast of experienced and successful veteran handicappers. And folks, there's no strings attached. There's no subscription plans. It's a matter of you just subscribing and then going into your YouTube settings and hitting that notification bell, and you'll be alerted immediately upon any of our sports betting videos, or specifically our Winner's Circle sports betting podcast going up on this channel. Doug, how have you been doing of late? Tell the folks where they can find you, and then we'll get into our free picks.
Sure. Like you said at the top, it's Doug Upstone at DocSports.com. Had a real nice weekend in football overall. Hit big plays on the Detroit Lions blowout yesterday. So that was a 7-unit play, which I made mention of last week. Yeah. And then also had a 6-unit winner. And to be perfectly honest, right now it's leaving me who exactly was, because I started thinking about our free plays last week. Tulane, the Green Wave.
The Green Wave, baby.
So that was good. So makes it 4 in a row on big plays at Docs. Okay, right now in football. So that was all good. NBA had a 7-unit winner on Golden State Friday night. Got a little lucky, gonna admit it, but got it. But then yesterday had a real nice winner with the New York Knicks. Everybody loved the Cavaliers yesterday. I decided to go contrarian. Knicks won by 11, so that was good. Had some nice winners in college basketball. Hockey, 13-6 run right now, Ross, in progress. Some good stuff going on there. So yeah, so it's just kind of like what it feels like to me, like building momentum. Just everything's kind of going in the right direction. So, and a nice time of year to do it with all the sports converging. We got the bowl games coming up. So yeah, excited for all of it. How about yourself, Ross?
Yeah, before we get to that, anything to put in the black book this week?
Like I said, just one. Had an overtime yesterday that didn't go my way. It would have been a tough one to win in overtime. I'm not going to deny it, but still, it was an overtime, and I've lost when I've had catching that many points. So so yeah, you take it for what it's worth. So yes, but it's okay. We're December the 5th in college basketball. Can't get too excited about all of those things.
Always easier.
At least yet.
Always easier to endure when you're coming off a good week or a good day, an overtime loss. Never easy to lose, especially never easy to lose in overtime, especially when you have the underdog and it goes overtime and you lose the game. You had the game won. You had the right pick. And that's sports betting. We win some like that too, but Doug will never come clean with that with me, even though he takes out his black book and says, Ross, if you could tell me, you know me for years, you know I don't lie. Here's my record in overtime. Don't tell me that it all evens out.
Don't ever believe that everything evens out. That's what I will tell you, because it does not.
Hey, and you know what? If he tells me he's had bad luck in overtime, folks, just like me and the rest of the handicappers on this channel, we fess up when we lose. We beat on our chest when we win because, hey, you know what? If we don't, nobody else will for us. And it's a very fickle industry. It seems like you're only as good as what you did yesterday with a lot of people, and that's okay. But if you're looking to make money over the long haul, you could find Doug at DocSports.com. You could find me at RBWins.com. On a nice roll of late with my college basketball, 16-8 with my last 24 in college basketball, including a 2-1 day yesterday. So college basketball off to a great start. The NBA, I'm hitting 58% since April 1st of this year. NFL hitting 58% still since January 30th of this year, which would have been the conference championship weekend. Went 2-1 yesterday in the NFL, but I did have the total on Thursday night, cashed in with that. So far 3-2-1 with the NFL, with the Monday night game still pending. What did I miss? College basketball, NBA, NFL. You have it, folks. And college football bowl season will be upon us sooner rather than later. A lot of good matchups for us to cover in that regard. All right, Doug, let's get into the free pick. Number 2, Texas, and number 17, Illinois. Right now, I'm seeing Texas as a 4-point favorite in the total 140.5. What do you got, my friend?
Well, we're looking at this. Both these games are going to be on ESPN, so you can watch them. So that'll be a good thing. Now, the Illinois comes in 6-2, 4-3 against the number under Coach Brad Underwood, who has revitalized this program. Okay, it was kind of slumbering a bit, and so he's done a very good job and pretty much turned this into a top 20 program annually. NCAA tournament success, not there yet, but we'll see what happens. Only 2 losses so far have been to ranked teams, Virginia and Maryland. In both cases, they could not make the key shots at crunch time, and both of those were not at home. So from that standpoint, they're shooting 48% as a team, so they're doing a nice job. And I think they're going to need a big effort in this game from their top 3 scorers, who are Terrence Shannon Jr., Dane Danger. Okay, got to make sure I get that right. The coming over from Baylor, and Coleman Hawkins from that standpoint. So 3 good players. Some give something to watch there. Longhorns, Ross mentioned, they're undefeated, 6-0, just 3-3 against the spread, but some of those spreads have been in the upper 20s, so those aren't easy to cover. Chris Beard, excellent coach, really like him. Okay, and I think he's got something to build himself right now. Real powerhouse. Texas has had teams as talented and maybe even more talented than this current group, but the one difference is, like the football team, Beard has a structure to where it's not about you and your NBA dreams. It's about winning with this team, and then by winning and getting to the Final Fours or doing things like that, all that other stuff will follow if you do that. You going off and having a 40-point game isn't going to get you drafted to the NBA. How you play within the context of your teammates. They got a lot of individual talent I like. Tyrese Hunter, Marcus Carr, and Sir Jabari Rice. As you mentioned, Texas, a 4-point favorite in this one. And for Illinois to cover, I think they're going to have to dominate the glass. They're +6 on differential compared to Texas at +1. So I think that they have an opportunity to do that. Both squads are excellent defensively, holding opposing teams in the upper 30s for field goal percentage, and both generate 18 turnovers a game. Horns, though, do protect the ball a little bit better. They make fewer turnovers themselves. Now, Ross, to be honest with you, for the eye test, I actually think Texas is the better team. But when I sat down and looked at that and looked at my power ratings before we did this show, is that all of them have Texas winning by either 1.5 or 2. So I'm going to look at this one. Looking at Texas is 4-14 against teams that score 77 or more points recently. I'm going to say right here, take the Illini, okay, to get the job done, plus the 4 on Tuesday night.
There you go. Illinois plus the 4 against Texas on Tuesday night at Madison Square Garden. That's a 7 p.m. Eastern time tip-off. And as Doug touched upon, that game will be nationally televised by ESPN, just like my game. The kid Shannon, if people don't remember him, the transfer from Texas Tech, he was a freshman on that Texas Tech team under Chris Beard, ironically, that reached the championship game and lost in overtime. So, and then the kid from Baylor they brought over was the 6th man of the year. He started as a freshman for Baylor. He was a 6th man of the year on a national championship team. So they brought in a couple really, really good transfers. And Shannon, he's really, really improved his 3-point shooting, Doug. I've been really impressed. I mean, kids could say they worked on their shot all summer long. He said he worked on his shot diligently all summer long, and it certainly shows because he was not that good a 3-point shooter at Texas Tech. And also, he's been told by NBA scouts that if you want to be a high draft choice, if you want to make it in the NBA, you got the tools, but you need to improve your shot. And he's certainly done his fair share of work in that area. I'm going to look at Duke and Iowa. Right now, Duke, this is a team that's 7-2 on the season. However, here's the thing: at Cameron Indoor Arena, where Duke plays their home games, they're 5-0. It's always difficult to win there, but they've played 4 neutral site games this year as well. They haven't played a true road game yet, so I have nothing to measure in that regard. But in neutral sites, Duke is just 2-2 straight up and 1-3 against the spread. And Iowa, on the other hand, 6-1 straight up on the season, 5-2 against the spread. This is a Hawkeyes team that can really light up the scoreboard. I know Duke is a very good defensive team, and they played a tough schedule, but so is Iowa. If you look at the strength of schedule meter, I think Duke just has a tad more advantage in terms of strength of schedule. Not a noticeable difference enough to say that one team has played a tougher schedule than the other. And Iowa playing that tough schedule, averaging 86.4 points per game, shooting 47.1% from the field, and averaging 24 free throw attempts per contest, which is extremely high by college basketball standards. And they're hitting over 73% of those free throws. As a matter of fact, in 3 games, they played one true road game where they blew out Seton Hall, 2 neutral site games. So in those 3 games away from the friendly confines of their home floor, they're shooting 80.8% from the free throw line on 26 free throw attempts per game. So this is a team that knows how to get to the free throw line, knows how to knock them down. And they do more than that because they're averaging over 86 a game. Duke might be the more talented team. You know, an analogy that Doug used when talking about Illinois and Texas. But Iowa's the more experienced team, and I really think one of the most underrated head coaches in college basketball is Fran McCaffrey. Did a great job in his time at Siena as well. Got the job at Iowa, has never looked back, and it seems like Iowa always is in the discussion when it comes to top 25 teams. Right now in the coaches poll, they're number 24. I'm going to take Iowa here, Doug. Iowa plus the 2.5 versus Duke at Madison Square Garden in New York. And Doug Upstone, he likes Illinois plus the 4 against number 2 Texas. That will be the early game, 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening. So, folks, nationally televised game, 2 winners from the both of us. And Doug, your final thoughts.
Yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to that, this upcoming week, because kind of this tends to be kind of a slow week for college basketball because a lot of the schools have their midterms. Okay, so you have a lot of that. So this was a nice matchup. Obviously, ESPN put it together, and that's what you look for from a handicapping perspective. You look for these key matchups that if you have the time to watch them, you can really learn something as the teams then go into conference play. In a couple of weeks, full time into conference play, and so it makes a big difference to be able to know things and to be able to handicap it going forward.
I agree, Doug. I am not a proponent of people who tell me you don't need to watch the games. Well, you know what? You can't watch everyone. I get that. And I know a lot of you comment on our videos and you're fans of a particular team. And I would venture to say that most of you that are fans of that team watch that team a hell of a lot more than us. But at the same time, we're watching enough, okay, to get a very good opinion. And don't forget, folks, it's not about always winning straight up. It's about beating a number. It's not always about the best team in a matchup. It's about what the situation is, and it doesn't assure the more talented team to win in those situations. And sometimes they win and they don't cover. That's why we always look for betting value on underdogs as well. So for Doug Upstone and Ross Benjamin, don't forget, give us a like, folks, excuse me. And we'll see you the next time, which will be Thursday. I'll be back on Tuesday with Craig Trapp, Wednesday with Big Al McMorty, Doug on Thursday. And it'll be Jesse Shule, I believe, will be joining me on Wednesday as well, doing some college basketball and college football. So, Doug, always a pleasure, my friend. You knock 'em dead this week, and take care, folks, and God bless.